All right, everybody, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble. Of course, I do see that there are viewers waiting. I do see that chat is working, and so probably we're good to go. Lots to talk about today. First, Joe Biden's dog, actually. Yeah, it's actually newsworthy. CNN ain't going to report on it, though. Links in the description, by the way, to everything I will talk about today, as well to various merch links and things of that nature. There's a lot of links in the description. I'm thinking about shortening it up and, I don't know, figuring out what the hell I'm going to do with it. Yes, by the way, to chat, I think that Tulsi Gabbard is definitely on the high end of the short list for running mates. I know Razorfist thinks that she's another Kirsten Sinema. Again, though, you could do worse. You got to be politically pragmatic to get in office anyway in the first place. So we'll be talking about that maybe. Joe Biden's dog biting people 24 times, actually. And remember, the reason why the first dog was shuffled off out of the White House was because the other dog was biting people as well. Secret Service agents, staffers, it's only a matter of time before some kids are visiting the White House for Easter and you have a diplomatic incident with the child of the Indian ambassador or something like that. So it's a bigger problem. On the surface, it's funny. It's a bigger problem for potentially diplomatic reasons than some people might actually think. Tim Pool putting this out. They're trying to astroturf the idea of undocumented citizens, actually. And I'm slightly upset because this is a linguistic sort of thing, and so I should have been forewarned of this. But I had to get it from Tim Pool. I should have been on the cutting edge, but unfortunately, the clankers were scooped on this one, which makes me sad. So we'll talk about that particular linguistic terminology. Breaking, IRS official Alex Mena, who works in criminal investigations, says IRS News has no problem going after small people, putting people in prison and destroying people's lives. Yes, this is from James O'Keefe of OMG Media. He's got another good one. After making the White House cyber security chief basically disappear himself from the internet, which was funny only a few short days ago. Now he's gone after the IRS. He's doing a real good job, by the way. Everyone's like, oh, James O'Keefe is done now that Project Veritas has kicked him out. No, I think that he's simply replacing Project Veritas with Project Veritas 2.0, which is OMG Media. That'll be a fun one. Next news story, how everything became a psyop for conservative media. The irony is that this article is part of a psyop, so we'll get into that. The idea of replacing Biden at the Democratic National Convention, I've got to weigh in on that again because they keep trying to astroturf it as a thing, and I don't think it'd be a good idea, and I don't think it's going to happen. But again, we'll weigh in on that. And then I wanted to. There's a story here. This is a fun one. Democratic mayor hands out $10,800 for economic equity program that funds lavish 5-day trip to Miami. I wanted to blow it. I wanted to have fun, one recipient said. We're going to talk about the difference between having money and having wealth, actually, at the end of the broadcast, because people need to goddamn know that. Sparky, greetings, fearless leader. Greetings to you as well, Sparky. And Cultivated Mind over on Rumble. Good morning, Sticks and fellow clankers. Brain mushroom, energy mushrooms, and immune-boosting mushrooms, all available with free shipping and 10% off with code CLANK at www.cultivated-mind.com. By the way, I have made a decision with regards to my brand. I'll get into that briefly now. Because of the size of my brand and because I do need to make a living, I'm no longer going to be accepting super chats of that type. I'm not calling you out, Cultivated Mind. You sent me some of your mushroom supplements and stuff, and I don't have a problem with that. From now on, if somebody wants to shout something out on super chats or something, that's fine, but you need to make an actual business deal with me. It doesn't have to be anything contractual, but just an agreement of various terms. Because I can't keep shouting out people's websites for $5 when I'm making the kind of money that I am on other business deals. And it's just out of pragmatic necessity. Now, 5 years ago, I may not have cared so much. 5 years ago, I wasn't taking care of a family, et cetera, et cetera. So I need to become business-wise. You can look at it as cutthroat, but I'm a capitalist, so I don't have a problem with it. And I don't hold myself to any standards. I don't hold other people to, by the way. I'm definitely no hypocrite. So with Anton and some of the others that are directly partnered with me, MTPU is going to be getting aboard, I believe, as well. I'll be talking to them later. That's fine, but I do want to have some sort of business arrangement before I shout out people's websites and stuff, unless it's just something like fun, like the Grifties or something like that. Okay, that's perfectly fine. But I can't continue to do that because it also clogs up my live streams and takes time away from the news stories. And I think it's starting to annoy a few people, actually. So my apologies, but I will be doing that as a thing. Everyone's got to make a living, you know? Got to make the money. Get them Benji Greens in. You want to see a lot of epic garden videos, and it takes money in order to expand it. By the way, I did get my AR-15 earlier. I will be showing that off in probably tomorrow. I cannot show it to you right now because YouTube has terms of service against showing weapons on a live stream. Can't even flash my little hip cannon here. It's rather sad. You used to be able to do that. Who lover? If Trump wins his third term, what happens if he investigates the Hong Kong election? What happens if he finds proof that what they did made him lose? Absolutely nothing because of differential enforcement, and he'd be well warned not to bother. He'd be well warned to simply get to work, start reforming the country away from Bidenomics and the Biden border crisis and stuff. You know, put the pedal to the metal, do the things that you need to do in the executive capacity. Yeah, Moonman rant. Show it now and then show it after you've customized it. Yes, I am going to get a few attachments for the AR. I do want a suppressor on it because I don't want to go deaf or piss off the neighbors because I don't want to be that person in the neighborhood. And sites, of course, good ones. So I'll be looking into that. If you've got any recommendations for suppressors or sights for a 5.56 chambered AR-15, you are always welcome to send those suggestions to my Twitter account through DM. Anyway, let's get into the news. Joe Biden's dog bit people 24 times. Even the dogs in the Biden White House are a disaster. And there's a list of these incidents, by the way. Again, link in the description. Various dates over the course of a couple of fucking years, by the way. Location of the incident, some of them were blanked out. They must be classified. And in many cases, treatment was required. By the way, so these are not like you got nipped by the dog. Okay, you got a few dimples on your hand or something. Ouchie, it's a little boo-boo. It's more like, hey, it drew blood. It was trying to rip a chunk of my flesh off. Location of the incident, West Colonnade, the South Grounds, East Hill. There are 3 here that are blanked out from 2022. Nantucket, Massachusetts, South Grounds, Palm Room, another blanked out one, which may mean the Oval Office, by the way. Wilmington, Delaware, East Triangle, Camp David, Rose Garden, Kennedy Garden, Wilmington, Delaware, Booksellers Lobby, Kennedy Garden, second floor elevator landing, South Grounds, Cabana, Dip reception room, that's diplomatic reception room, and the Kennedy Garden again. And the most recent one listed here, these are just the ones that we know of, by the way, that were reported, was in the middle of 2023. So that's not exactly ancient history. Joe Biden quite clearly should not own a dog. This would be like somebody has accidentally shot 5 or 6 people and they own a revolver. It's not okay. The problem is not the incidents that have already happened. The problem is the incident that could happen in the future. So again, ambassador is over from some foreign nation. They bring their kid with them, 12-year-old kid or something. And the dog jumps on him and bites him. What the fuck do you think happens diplomatically? You've got a lot of smoothing over to do. What happens if somebody who has a really important role gets sidelined because they get seriously injured by Joe Biden's poorly trained dog? When dogs habitually bite people, it can be a sign of stress or a sign of poor training, or in this case, probably both. The fact is that Joe Biden is a feeble old man and he doesn't take care of his own pets. He interacts with them sporadically. He's got other things to do, like, you know, falling over the stairs and stuff like that. It's just the way that it works. They should not be in the White House. They shouldn't be anywhere near dignitaries or diplomats or anything else, really. They're poorly trained. They're menaces. Normally, if you have a dog that attacks 24 people, the dog is euthanized and you are punished for that. But he's Joe Biden, so nobody even talks about it at this point. The legacy media barely talks about it at all. Max Health Pro. Shout out to Bella J from Ontario, wishing everyone a great weekend. Thank you. Sassmaster531, undocumented citizens, trying to frame it so it's hard when Trump tries to deport illegal aliens. I don't think that's the reason. I think that it's linguistic shenanigans. We'll get into that, don't worry. Fresh news, is the new revelation of Smirnov lying, the FBI, the new Russiagate 2.0? I don't know that he did lie. That's just an allegation against him. Everyone's jumping the gun and assuming that the FBI's own claims are true, despite the FBI lying repeatedly about the Russiagate case for an extended period of time. We'll wait and see. I'm not necessarily taken in. Joe, hey Sticks, try any tasting history recipes lately? Let's go, Brandon. I've made a couple of his recipes, yeah, including the Parthian chicken, which was delicious, and then the Babylonian beef and beet stew, actually, which is not in the cookbook, I believe, actually, but it was on his channel. Delicious. And lots of caraway in it, if I remember correctly. And I love caraway more than almost anything. But no, not lately. I will be making more, though. I've got the Tasting History Cookbook. Max Miller, by the way. You should definitely check out his channel. Art Funk Butter. Michelle Obama put mail on some form. What do you think about that? Some form. What do you think about that? I don't know that that's true. It could always be shenanigans. That Manx guy sent $10. No comment. Thank you. Cole of Centauri. I live in Milwaukee. Blue spot in a key state. I was thinking guys like me should be poll watchers. Your thoughts? Yeah, you should knock on doors in the meantime, too. If you're in Wisconsin, a competitive state, if you can harvest 10 ballots or get like 10 people signed up to vote, that makes a difference. You can multiply that effort by also mobilizing them to do the same thing. Follow Scott Pressler for more information. Next news story, and Tim is correct here. They are trying to astroturf the term undocumented citizens as a replacement for illegals or asylum seekers or economic migrants, which is what most of the people coming across the border are. If you go into a country and you are not legitimately an asylum seeker and you're not migratory labor or something like that, you simply flat out, you enter the country, you're not documented, you're not legally due to be there. The proper term is illegal immigrant. You've immigrated to a country and you've done so outside of the law. It's pretty cut and dry. There's no such thing as an undocumented citizen, unless you mean people that were repeatedly glossed over by the census or something like that. And so they don't count towards the proportional representation within their state or something along those lines. You're either a citizen or you're a non-citizen. Now, there are non-citizens in the United States that are legal, people that have residency, people who have asylum seeker status, and it's legit, like they're from Cuba or something like that. Totally legitimate, totally legal, no problem with it, by the way, at all. Then there are the mass of people that are illegally in the country. Most of the people that are coming across the southern border and the northern border, by the way, now too, don't forget, we do have a border with another country to the north, and we've been ignoring it by and large, and it's becoming a problem. I've been funneling through Vermont, actually. It's been happening this whole time, into Swanton and shit like that. They're illegals. They're illegally in your country. They've immigrated nonetheless. Illegal immigrant. What other term do you need to use for it? This is an example of Stalinizing language more than anything else. So, you know, the 1984 thing, right think and wrong think, double plus good, and all of these other things has really come to bear. Caddy woman with Navy background accused of smuggling for undocumented citizens, Kinney County Sheriff says. Well, they're not citizens. Undocumented citizens, what the hell are you talking about? Car ownership for DACA and undocumented citizens. Well, people covered under DACA aren't citizens. They're allowed in the country. It's called deferred action. It does not make them citizens. They're trying to astroturf this as a lead up to amnesty. That's quite clearly what they want to do. Not with all of these people, though. You watch, if the Democrats have their way, they'll grant amnesty to a small number of these people to convert them into liberal voters and ignore the rest of them, continue using them for slave labor because they're the same neolib, neocon morons, the same corporatists as in the Republican Party. That's why the GOP doesn't press the issue, even though it's a winning issue. Other than Trump and a few others, how many Republicans seriously talk about the border on a repeat basis? Have you ever noticed that a lot of them are conspicuously silent about that issue? There's a reason for that. It's because of their corporate partners. Sparky. Turns out your boy Navalny was visited by his Western-sponsored lawyer who dropped off his routine meds 2 days before he died. Poison meds? His wife had a speech ready. Munich Security Conference. It is possible. Absolutely. I'm not ruling that out. I'm just saying he was clearly poisoned. Will Gooding, I wouldn't put Biden in charge of cleaning up a wet dream, let alone taking care of a dog. Well, he'd clean up the wet dream if it was a female's one, probably. If it was Nikki Haley's, I suppose. Wonder if she is even capable of getting those at her age. The grisly trucker protests of New York are expanding by the day and apparently growing momentum. How many would it take and for how long these protests to continue to have a significant effect in 24? You would only need maybe 20-25% of the truckers servicing things to ignore New York City, and probably only for a few weeks in order for it to have a very significant impact. We'll see what happens with that. It is ongoing, and I have seen that news. Salt A. Used to be illegal alien, then illegal immigrant, then undocumented immigrant, then migrant, now undocumented citizen. This is a psyop. Yeah, it is. It's linguistic warfare. And so we need to get out ahead of it and debase the concept of undocumented citizen as much as possible, as quickly as possible, so that it loses linguistic significance. You have to fight for people's minds in order to help them to learn the truth, because they're being taught lies. Most PSYOP agents out there are not so benevolent as myself. You will notice they're all in it for themselves or for some uniparty. They want to enslave you. They want to take my AR-15 away and shit and tax me more. No thanks. I want to use that money to grow horseradish and buy biochar. Leave me alone. Sparky had some Anton's Wagyu biltong. It paired quite well with kimchi, though I believe it'd pair well with anything. I happen to agree. By the way, let's get to the merch links as well. We've got links in the description of this video. We now have 4 merch partners and probably going on 5 very soon. We've got ebay.com/str/pumpkinfirecrafts. That's Pumpkin Fire Crafts on eBay. You can get some good shit there. Sticks Hexenhammer merch and other stuff as well. We've got bookmarks, which I like because I'm a bibliophile. We've got keychains. We've got belt chains. And also spoons with the Ouroboros logo. That's just sort of, it's collectible and stuff. Different styles of spoons too. They're all different. Then we've got BiltongUSA.com. You can use code STICKS there for free shipping. That's with Anton. You can buy a boatload of meat. By the way, I do have a package in the other room. He sent me the next shipment. I have a feeling there's some bison in there, so it's going to be a very, very good day overall. Biltong and a new rifle. You can't really get better than that. Also got a stack of MREs over there. I'm going to shout them out, but I'm going to make a shout out video. A couple of other things got to come in. So Biltong USA or AntonsUSA.com. There's also Sticks merch there. There's a whole page for that. Wicked Needle Embroidery.bigcartel.com. If you want to get a Sticks Hexenhammer Ouroboros hat, those are available there as well. Also all sorts of other cool stuff. And then we have Heritage Heirloom Seed Company.com. Again, code STICKS or STICKS666 applies on most of these sites. You can buy a survival bucket. It's loaded with seeds. It's a pretty good deal. Admittedly, I got mine for free, but I probably would have bought one anyway because it would have covered basically all of the seeds that I needed for the garden. Mine, there were only like 2 species in there that I wanted to grow that weren't included, that weren't flowers. Pile of vegetables. I mean, I don't know, you could probably fill up a fat half acre with one of these. So you'd have a lot of plants. I'm not going to be able to plant them all because I do not have enough time in order to actually garden weasel the property enough to plant them all. But I'm going to plant as many as possible because I really love tomatoes and collards and kale. I'm not a huge lover of kale unless it's mixed into other things. Good in pasta, by the way. Get a little pesto in there. Jay Corvath, I was at the local bar and Biden was on the TV and the local farmer said to his mechanic, you know what? He ain't so bad. The economy's recovering and nobody's riding. Old Scranton Joe's got my vote. Oh, goodness. Fresh news. Mexico is now fed up with illegals from Venezuela. Hopefully they invade Venezuela and forestall them from invading Guyana. That would probably be good. Scar Phoenix, to anyone in recovery, congrats to another day in sobriety. Listen to Sticks when he drops white pills. Drop the drugs and alcohol. Work on yourself. Yes, if you can drop any vice that you happen to have, drug addiction, alcoholism, smoking, whoring around, whatever the hell it happens to be, you will measurably improve your life. You can also build new skills. Keep in mind, a vice is technically just a distraction from skill building anyway. Doc Holliday. I agree making Tulsi running mate would be game over. Their shenanigans wouldn't be enough to keep Trump out. Tulsi's Substack on the Second Amendment is great. Yeah, she's been converted on the issue of guns, it seems. I disagree with Razor Fist, much like on pineapple pizza or how to cook your steak. I do not believe that Tulsi Gabbard is being just a disingenuous politician. I think that I think after the abuse that she suffered from Democrats over topically criticizing the Biden admin and Democratic Party policies, she got fed up and she realized, well, number one, there's no political future for me in the Democratic Party. They're all calling me a Kremlin agent. And all these other people over here, they're saying, hey, come on, join the party. Yeah, you can be one of us. It's perfectly fine. They're more accepting. It's like I've pointed this out time and time again. I've suffered abuse for years and years as a result of my content creation. But like, you know, the amount of verbal abuse and death threats and stuff that I get now from leftoids is so much more sheer than anything I got back when I was a militant atheist or even a goddamn Satanist for a while there, making content. Christians and right-wingers would say, well, I'll pray for you. Yeah, there were some people who would harass me or launch death threats, say, oh my God, you devil worshiper, you deserve to burn in hell. But most of it was like, hey, I'll pray for you. Hey, here's the top 10 reasons I would like you to be on our team. With the left, it's not like that. They don't even make an attempt to convert me. They don't even try to convince me why I'm wrong or debate me or anything like that. They simply tell me that I'm a shithead and that I should die. There is a difference between the two. I'm not a conservative. I'm not religious. I'm Team Trump because, I mean, he's better than all alternatives. I'm not on the right wing of politics. People keep mistaking me for that, including some right wingers. They think that I'm, you know, must worship Jesus all day and stuff like that. I do like guns. I like paying less taxes. Yeah, I mean, I've come around to that. But it's like people on the right, despite the differences that I have, often of a religious nature, generally accept me. I don't get death threats and shit like that I get from the left wing. There is a fundamental difference generally between the mentality of these two groups of people. Not always, but as an aggregate, it's like night and day, honestly. So yeah, I prefer to party. I would rather have neighbors that were far right than far left. Absolutely. I'll just come out and say it. Let's see. Cultivated Mind. Oh, yes, I figured that's where it was going with the ad chats. Been trying to set it up for years and everyone piles on right at the same time. Congrats. Please check your Twitter DMs for my offer. Yes, I will look into that. If you want to do some sort of a deal or something, that's fine. Grandpa Nurgle, look up the EOTech Optics, the best. EOTech. Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Thank you. Transylvania 90, undocumented citizen is such an Orwellian inversion of reality. Lol, it's a pure contradiction in terms. Yeah, absolutely. Trip Boo, many clankers in District 23, Texas. Let's get out there and support Brandon Herrera. Lord of the Ree, went on my first ever live stream last night on Stephen Gosney's channel discussing albums that changed our lives. Was a little nervous, but ended up having a great time. Cool. Yeah, I can't think of any albums that changed my life per se. I can think of some of my favorites. Sweet Dreams by the Eurythmics, you know, back in the day when I was a kid. That was the first one that I ever bought, back when CDs were a thing. And a follow-up, might make a habit of it. I have an idea for a weekly show, and hopefully I can start working on it soon. In the meantime, you can check out my music at Long Walks Music on Rumble. It's adequate. Excellent. And Grandpa Nurgle, happy Friday, Rumble chat. I love you all. YouTube chat can pound Sam. Just to be clear, I have no problem with YouTube chat either. I get all sorts of cool comments from all around the world. Baron Von Blair, I went to fuel up at the commercial fueling network in South California, and there was no gas. The other blue-collar guys had the same issues. We shrugged. I said, let's go, Brandon. They all laughed while resoundingly cursing his existence. Yeah, well, let's go Newsom as well. Comes to mind. By the way, keep in mind, there will be a special live stream tomorrow. Normally, I don't go on weekends, but it's the South Carolina primary. So around, I don't know, 7 o'clock or whenever the hell the results start coming in, I will go live and we can shoot the shit about Kamala Harris being a complete goddamn loser. We might even get a concession speech. Her statement that she's going to stay in through Super Tuesday might just be bravado. Basically, fucking go to the polls and vote for me. We still have a chance. I'm not sure. If she does stay in, she's batshit. We know that. James O'Keefe here. Breaking, IRS official Alex Mena, who works in criminal investigations, says IRS News has no problem going after small people, putting people in prison, and destroying people's lives. Mena doubts the constitutionality of his employer, the IRS, using AI to access everyone's bank accounts nationwide. That's quite a revelation. I was not aware this was happening. Mena recalls IRS agents stating, the first person you shoot, you're going to remember. But after you're going to shoot like 100 people, you're not going to remember any of them. He says IRS agents are assholes. They are the definition of an asshole. All of them. I'm sure that there are some people that work for the IRS that are not assholes. Some people are like, oh, well, it's a paycheck. I do my job and shit like that. But I can imagine that a lot of them, who would want to work for the tax agency. This video is obtained by O'Keefe Media citizen journalist who is part of our American Swiper program. So, yeah, they're doing citizen journalism. You get some good shit in there, and you can send it to James O'Keefe. They'll probably try to Julian Assange him at some point. Just being completely honest, he does have to watch his back because we've seen what these unipartyist authoritarians will do to anyone that stands in their way. I can imagine, though, that that's probably true bants. I can imagine some IRS agents saying things like that about people. And by the way, it's not really a secret or anything. We know that Biden's expanding the IRS to go after the little people. If you think that he's actually trying to recoup the money from them billionaires because they keep hiding on their taxes, that's never the point. Weaponized bureaucracy. We've seen it before. The IRS was weaponized under Obama, too. Why would I think any different under Joe Biden? Trump won't weaponize it because he'll never have them working with him. They'll stonewall him and try to hide what they're doing from him more than anything else. Another good reason to vote for him is one more stumbling block in the way of the bureaucracy expanding and exploiting people. Next news story. How everything became a psyop for conservative media. Ooh. Yeah, we're talking about Jesse Waters. And I can't, some of this I can't read on a YouTube video, a YouTube live stream, because it has to do with Hong Kong, certain medical topics. It was funny when talking about the idea that Taylor Swift is an embedded Democratic Party agent or something like that. I've seen relatively few people actually go along with that line. And yet it's being astroturfed as though everyone with a MAGA hat on believes that. I've weighed in and said I have no problem with Taylor Swift voicing her political opinions because I'm not a hypocrite. I've done music, although spare, before. And so someone who does music mainly, they can weigh in on politics. It's her free speech. I don't give a fuck. And I don't know many people that seriously do. You may joke about it or something like that. Taylor Swift has a retarded opinion. Well, yeah, you might not agree with it, but she has the right to voice it. I've seen nobody trying to silence her. I've seen very few people who think that she's like a George Soros puppet or something like that. I guess it's possible. But the real psyop here is about psyops. This is the wonder of psychological operations, by the way. And the U.S. military, by the way, literally has a subdivision of psyops agents. So the idea that they don't exist is itself, oddly enough, a psyop propaganda move. It's like being in the Matrix. It's from the Washington Post. So you do realize who owns WAPO, right? No, psyops don't exist. 1984 is a lie. We're not moving in that direction. Globalism doesn't exist. I like how they tried to astroturf as another psyop, oddly enough, the idea that globalist meant that you were anti-Semitic. So if you called out globalism, you hated Jewish people or something. Or if you talked about how banks were corrupt, that was anti-Semitic. That was a little bit telling, by the way, at the time. And there were Jewish people that pointed that out. And they're like, what the fuck are you saying? Fact is, psyops exist. I deploy them on a regular basis. It's just that I'm using them for benevolent purposes. Of course, I want to fiddle around with people's minds. I'm trying to convince them of my political opinions. I'll be very, very open and frank. Yes, I use linguistic propaganda on the reg. Why do you think that legacy media has become an effective linguistic kill shot term for corporate media? It was there before I arrived on the set. Who helped popularize that? There's a reason for that. It's because it works. Or, Let's Go Brandon is technically a psyop, linguistically speaking. My particular expertise is on the linguistic side as opposed to anything else. I've made a few memes that have gone kind of viral, but, mostly I deal with words. It's kind of my job. Books and videos and stuff. I like words. Of course I do. I engage in psychological operations whenever possible because I want to stop the authoritarians. I want people to pay less taxes, for us to have less wars, be able to express yourself freely. That benefits me too, by the way, in my line of work, and everything else under the sun, to defend yourself, the right to be left alone. Most people that engage in that kind of propaganda are not doing it for those purposes. They're trying to enslave us. That's just the long and short of it. Some of these people quite literally want us to be nothing more than goddamn proles. Well, I try to stand against that. Of course, I use psychology to try to save people from tyranny. Wouldn't you? By the way, read Might is Right by Ragnar Redbeard, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, The Art of War by Sun Tzu, and then Occult Memetics by yours truly. Book's link in the description and pinned at the top on YouTube. By the way, it's under the My Works category. And you probably will wake up to the propaganda around you. I warn you, though, once you go down that rabbit hole, anytime you see ads, when you read, when you watch TV, when you're watching a movie and stuff, you're going to notice things. You're going to notice that your mind is being toyed with. Sometimes it's very uncomfortable once you realize how fucking pervasive propaganda is. It's literally everywhere. Symbols, gestures, words, the whole 9 yards. You're going to realize that people are living in the Matrix. And it'll fuck you up a little bit mentally if you get black pilled. So that's why I try to white pill people. That's part of my psyop. If people go crazy, if people had half that knowledge that like the psyops agents had, generally, if they had that awareness, and they thought that they couldn't do anything about it, they would kill themselves, or they'd be so despondent they'd break down. They wouldn't attempt to improve that system because it seems so undefeatable. It's so corrupt, so vast, and so convoluted, they would lose hope. That's why I tell people, build a skill, learn some new thing, live your dreams, get better at whatever you do, or do something else that's positive in your life, positive for other people. Try to work together, try to organize. If you lose hope, well, then that's done. And, we're all in this ship together. So if enough people lose hope and the ship starts sinking, I drown too. Part of it is entirely self-serving, admittedly. Omjin Kenobi, Pot of Biltong subscription. Clank, good decision. Probably one of the best you'll ever make. Webster's Wares. Good morning, Sticks. If you were a betting man, who would you give the odds-on favorite for Trump's VP? I would say Kristi Noem is probably at the very top of the list. She came out the other day and was giving advice on like the qualifications that a running mate should have. So on the nose. Ryan McDonald, USA. Hey, Sticks, $5 for you. Appreciate work from New Jersey. Thank you very much. WCW2793. Hi, Sticks. Send a DM with a link for good optics. Thank you very much. Yeah, I do need to get good optics for the AR. I will be shouting that out tomorrow. By the way, Pathfinder Defense, but I can't show it to you right now because I'm on live stream. Jones Johnson, arg, there is a skinwalker inside my walls. Happy Friday, Sticks. Goodness. Baron Von Blair, touche, Sticks. Newsom's a Cheshire cat that doesn't smile but bares his teeth like a psychopath. FGN and FJB, Clank. Mopey Hornet, like Tulsi for VP, but Carrie Lake would bring a more competitive state to Trump, in my opinion. Plus, she's hotter. I would disagree with both assertions myself. Just saying. Cellquest 216. Any VP candidates that are already holding office need to stay where they are. We can afford to leave those seats open, leaving Vivek and Tulsi. For Justice. Trudeau will provoke Trump for his re-election campaign. Hope Trump doesn't take the bait and waits for populist Poilievre to win October 2025. Thoughts? Yeah, Trump should not take the bait from, little midget man there. He looks like a fucking hobbit. He looks more like old Bilbo Baggins now, though. Pinochet's helicopter tours. I was an undocumented citizen when I lost my passport, but there was an easy fix for that. You go get the document. Let's go, Brandon. Ryan McDonald, USA. If you ain't putting propaganda out, you're taking it in. Quote by me. Good. Yeah, that's also effective. Ironically, you just engaged in propaganda. The Emperor's Champion. If we want to be left alone, then we have to get involved in politics and at least stonewall the shenanigans. If not, we'll never be left alone. Yeah, exactly. Alex Better. Stay away from television and Netflix. It's psyops. I really don't watch TV. I don't do Netflix. I don't do any on-demand. I haven't in a long time. I prefer to make video content. I like to express my opinions. I'm an opinionated, overbearing asshole. What can I say? And it pisses some people off that dislike me that I get paid to do that. Just saying. The Wanderer, $4.99, no comment. Thank you very much. The Happy Plague Doctor. I think I'll buy a pew pew today also, so I don't feel left out. Yeah, I also got another extra mag and some more ammo for it, and I got a couple people that want to send me free ammo, including explosive rounds. I'm going to have fun with those. Thinking about getting a grenade launcher, but it's extremely expensive. It is legal in the United States. It's just, then you got to find somewhere where you can buy grenades for the launcher, and I'm not sure about the legality of actually physically deploying them in a state like Vermont, so I got to look into that. Justice for joggers, pee pee poo poo. That's about all. Peace out. BWOO, do you think we are moving away from wokeness? Also, I just can't believe they aren't going to replace Joe. I mean, they'd be crazy to. We will talk about that in a moment. And replacing Joe. I personally think it would be a bad idea for them to do so. And as far as wokeness, we're not fully moving away from it. We're moving away from one moral panic towards an inevitable another. King of Biltong, good morning from Anton's in Roanoke, Texas. Free shipping for your Biltong using code STICKS on www.biltongusa.com and www.antonsusa.com. Keep an eye out for our Denton, Texas branch opening in the next 6 to 8 weeks. Oh, God, you get a whole new store and shit. Yeah, you're gonna end up with a Biltong empire, my dude. Sticks Hexen merch available there as well. You can get some mugs and smugs. Replacing Biden at the convention is risky and unprecedented, and there's the rub. Here's the problem. A lot of Democrats don't want Biden to be the nominee. They think he'll lose, and I think that he will. He's clearly not with it. He's elderly. He's having mental and physical problems. And I think that a lot of them are worried, hey, I mean, I don't have a problem with Joe, but I'm not really taken in by Kamala. They keep trying to astroturf her as the greatest asset of the administration, the secret weapon. And I'm like, what the fuck are you smoking? When she does go out in public, typically she's loaded, like she was literally just last week. She was drunk, significantly drunk. Not just, hey, I knocked back one beer with Elizabeth Warren before I staggered out on stage. More like 3 or 4 wine coolers or something like that. She's terrible. And so there's that problem. There's the problem of his memory issues, which the DOJ report detailed, which were detailed in O'Keefe's sting there against the White House cybersecurity chief, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We know that Joe Biden's not completely with it. Despite that, though, a lot of Democrats, I think, would be really, really unhappy if he gets all the votes. He's got like 90+% in all of the states. He's got all the delegates, basically. He's run unopposed. He's the incumbent. He does have the incumbent advantage, et cetera, et cetera. And then they shaft him. And I'm wondering who they replace him with. It can't be Kamala. She can't possibly win. She'd lose against Nikki Haley, probably the only person who would, by the way. Gavin Newsom is from Blue State. He's, as I reported earlier today, he's lost over and over on his anti-gunnery and everything else. He's a hypocrite. The French Laundry incident would really come back to bite him. He's a hypocrite. Whitmer is deeply unlikable, and I don't think they're seriously considering her. Hochul, again, Blue State, maybe more coherent, but has her own issues, has spoken out against the Biden admin, and Biden would have to coronate someone. He goes into the convention and says, well, come on, man, I'm glad for all your votes, but I'm not your man. I'm too old for this shit, basically. He has to choose somebody because those delegates pledged to him. He has to direct them. Now, they don't have to vote that way, but he has to give a suggestion about who should be voted for, unless he wants to completely hand it over to the DNC, which brings its own additional problems because then people say, well, what's this bullshit? I didn't vote for this person. And it'll be someone from out of nowhere. It'll be some, sort of dark horse candidate, probably. They'll attempt another Obama moment. I don't think that there's anyone there that's both able and willing to hold the position. He could try Buttigieg. Too bad he pisses off both independent voters and the far left. And the whole East Palestine thing might be a little bit of a campaign issue since the mayor endorsed Donald Trump. Who exactly is meant to replace Joe Biden on the ticket? It's not clear that there's anyone that wouldn't be worse somehow than Joe Biden. Again, Kamala, Gavin Newsom, etc. Who are they going to choose? And by the way, Is there a necessity that the person that they choose wants the position? For instance, they love Michelle Obama. She has said both publicly and privately that she's ruled that out. Well, then she's not going to be the nominee. At the very least, she has a little bit more of a personality than someone like Gavin Newsom, the sourpuss, but it's not going to happen. So Gavin wants the position, but he's probably going to have to wait. Whitmer would like the position, I'm sure. She's going to have to wait her turn too. Probably fight off Gavin Newsom in 28. We're going to see what happens. Buttigieg might be on that list, but I don't think he has the charisma. Biden somehow, despite being elderly and having all these health problems, probably fares better against Donald Trump than any alternative does, simply because the methodology by which you get him to stand down would be so obtuse. And keep in mind, they moved South Carolina to the front of the pack for the Democratic primaries, specifically to accommodate Joe Biden. Well, they didn't do that because they thought that he was going to stand down at the convention. I think he will be the nominee. There is a chance he stands down, and there's always a chance in the next few months that he croaks or something like that, or has this massive stroke, can't even talk or sit up. It's possible. It's just not likely in that span of time, which means people really, really need to think hard about who they vote for, because Kamala would end up the first female president of the United States. She wouldn't have been elected. She's incoherent. Nobody around her seems to like her. That would be your commander-in-chief. God, I'd prefer Joe Biden over her too. Yeah, absolutely. Angry Bellsprout. Ukraine struggles to find fighting age males. We have millions of undocumented fighting age males. Why not send them where they can earn citizenship? Yeah, they wouldn't be willing to go. Anti-Piracy League finally ordered the biltong. Fucking delicious. Since you put me onto that, I'll put you onto shakshuka. Spiced up red pepper, onion, garlic, and tomato with eggs and optional feta. Seems right up your alley. Shakshuka. That sounds good. Yeah. Onion and feta are a match made in heaven. Just saying. So, yeah, I don't think, they're crazy if they do replace Biden. They're crazy to run him. They're crazy not to have forced him to stand down already and have an actual primary. But, by the way, dry weather. So, chapstick. Tastes peachy. I love it. And then the final news story, speaking about self-improvement and stuff. Some people need a little bit more resolve financially. Democratic mayor hands out $10,800 for economic equity program that funds lavish 5-day trip to Miami. Yes, it's a pilot program, and I'll just read through some of this. Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser distributed thousands of dollars to low-income moms with no strings attached. Bad mistake. As part of an equitable economic recovery strategy to offset the costs of childcare. In at least one case, the taxpayer dollars were used to fund a lavish trip to Miami. The direct cash payments were part of a pilot program to determine the flush of cash could demonstrate economic improvements among participants. No, it can't. It's already been tried in several Scandinavian countries and it fucking failed and they discontinued the programs. That's for a reason. And I'll explain why in a moment. Additional cash has allowed women to achieve further financial stability, financial security, food security, and health insurance coverage, Bowser's office claimed. But an economic policy expert told Fox News Digital, legacy media, the policies were a misdirection of funds that should otherwise be used for public safety and education. And so they gave them between hundreds and about $10,000 lump sum. The problem is that most people, when given additional income, they increase their spending proportionately. They don't think, hey, I've already got a reasonable, decent existence. I can add a couple of little things on top, maybe I splurge on, I eat out like once a month or something. But generally, I take this money and I save it, or I invest it in something that makes additional money, or I invest it in something that's necessary. Most people don't think that way. You have heard so many stories about somebody who wins the goddamn lottery. They win like $10 million. Couple years later, they're broke. Why? Because they thought, well, I'm rich now. I can do whatever I want. So they buy the Corvette and they buy the $1 million home. And then they don't compensate for the fact that they now have to pay taxes on that home. You don't have a mortgage, but there's still taxes. They do exist, unfortunately. By the way, I do oppose property taxes for some arbitrary amount towards the original primary residence. That way people can actually own property and not rent it from the government. But I digress. Most people, if you give them money, they'll splurge. It's just like it's the same thing as like the Iran deal. We'll use that as an example. We gave a bunch of money to Iran. We freed up funds that were being held in Qatar for the Iranians before Biden did a 180 on this and walked away, mainly because of what's happening in Israel right now. And then freed up billions of dollars, and they extracted some of that money. The problem is that even though you've earmarked it so you can't do weapons stuff, this is only for medicine and humanitarian aid and building schools and stuff. Yes, but you don't understand the fungibility of money. Once you've covered that, they can divert money that they would have spent on it anyway to their weapons development. Build a few more drones, maybe get a couple more missiles. It's similar. People will simply shift money around, and if you give them more, they will tend to spend more because you've inflated the amount of money that they have to spend. And a lot of people, when you give them a real large sum of money, they blow through it. They're like, well, I'm rich. I can go here. I'm going to Vegas. I'm buying a sports car and stuff. They're not capable of being content with a normal lifestyle. And so even if you give them $100 million, they can find a way to go broke. You know what I would do if I struck it rich? Yeah, I win 10 million in the lottery. I would invest about 90% of the after-tax amount. I would invest it. I'd leave it alone. Put it in commodities, mutual funds, bonds, stocks, IRAs, shit like that. Leave it alone. Well, now you're set for life. That's the whole point. You can take some of that money and splurge. I would certainly expand the garden very quickly. But you don't want to blow through it. Just you have heaps of cash around and, hire a bunch of strippers and shit like that. That's how you go back to being poor. And so people can be handed free money paid for by their taxpayers, and it's a sin that they did this. Well, then they go to Miami. Oh, yeah, thanks for the $10,000. I didn't spend any of it in this particular district, but yeah, I thank you for the free 5-day Miami vacation with the luxury jacuzzi and the pink champagne on ice and stuff like that. It said, you could buy a whole lot of malt liquor with that $10,000 too. You can get drunk and enjoy yourself if that's really what you're into. Fuck, you could buy your own jacuzzi probably. Although with Bidenomics, I don't know that it would cover the cost. But most of it should have been set aside for other purposes. That would cover all your food bills for the year. Again, with Bidenomics, maybe. I'm not 100% sure. But you can get better food. Upgrade your car a little bit or something. It runs longer, runs better, and more efficient or something like that. People have a tendency to be very poor at balancing their budgets because when the budget increases, they just raise their spending. So my goal for all of you is to learn this. Do not adjust your spending upwards when you make more money. Live the same goddamn lifestyle you're living unless it's unacceptable. If you're existing on nothing but ramen and you get a raise so that you can buy Progresso, that's probably good. Nutrition is a good thing for you. You need vitamins and minerals and shit. But if you've already got a decent lifestyle, when you get more money, invest it in something that brings a return. The fuck do you think I'm doubling or tripling the size of the garden for? And getting a home canning setup and a dehydrator. It's going to be great. Webster's Wares. Greetings, clankers. Good morning from Webster's Wares in the wheat fields of Eastern Washington. Get free shipping using code STICKS at checkout at www.websterswares.com. Clanker shirts and beanies coming soon. Yes, indeed. There's going to be some Sticks merch over there. All sorts of good shit. A guy under a bridge. Never going to happen, but do you think a 6-12-month halt on taxes would help or hurt us? I'm sure every government broker would say Earth would explode. I think that we should just reduce taxes by, I'll be reasonable. I'll be the sane libertarian. By about 90%. Across the board. No strings attached. And then we'll call it a day. Horowitz, Feinberg, and Horowitz. If the votes do get thrown to the DNC, believe it that they will vote Hakeem Jeffries just to dare the Dems not to vote for him. They could go, they'd lose, but... By the way, please send no more super chats. I'm going to be going offline a little bit early because keep in mind tomorrow I'll be doing an extra live stream and it'll be a longer one. Now, that's for the South Carolina primaries. So tune in tomorrow evening Eastern time. And we're going to watch as Nikki Haley gets absolutely pile-drived like she deserves. It's going to be a good night, I think. Cheese, Sticks, Andy Six, and Ghost Politics are going to wed in Maricopa County, Arizona. You are invited to wed them. Please consider doing this. For justice. He's posting literal shit. Why don't you think Barry and Co. can change Michelle's mind by convincing her that they will do all the work and she just needs to smile for the cameras? Because I genuinely think that she had enough of it. When I've seen interviews and clips of her, she seems genuinely, like, the body language, she's pissed at the way she was treated. And I don't blame her, because all those white NIMBYist liberals, you know that there was one time she was in the White House, just walking around a corner, and she overheard a couple of these white NIMBYist liberals saying the N-word or something about that, about her or daughters or something, or calling them pickaninnies or something like that. That's exactly how these people are. I've interacted with them. I can guarantee that happened. She's not going to name names. 99% chance that an incident like that at least once, when Obama was in the White House, actually occurred. Or Obama overheard it and then told Michelle, and she probably exploded. Hack Bodies, what's good color crystal for a wizard scepter? Whatever your favorite color is. Kespergers, Wyoming, wokeness is a weapon on the West that the East will gladly solve, and we will welcome this as long as the misery of wokeness is nullified. Mojo Hansen. Tucker talking about Russian supermarkets sounds like Bernie talking about education in Cuba. Never mind, the average income in Russia is $12K per year. Yeah, I'm not Team Russia myself, although I will say there are a lot of cool things in that country. And really, I wish that Russia would open up more into the world at large so I could go visit at some point. I'd like to go see fucking Russia. Maybe not Moscow, because I hate cities, but other than Amsterdam. Amsterdam's pretty cool as far as cities go. But I'd love to see Kamchatka, the Ural Mountains. You know, maybe I end up getting killed in a blizzard or something. It's even snowier than here. Virgil Shadow, Sticks, why do so many people ignore local politics? We need to focus on the local because we can't always rely on winning the national elections. And state level, people don't understand. There are 3 sources of abuse in your life if you're in the United States. The state government, the local government, and the bureaus. Most of it's not federal level at all. Most of it, if it's federal level, it's the bureaus that have been delegated by Congress. And the Chevron decision might put the kibosh to that. We're really hoping that the Chevron defense sort of thing, that the Supreme Court makes the right decision. Yeah, a lot of it's state and local. Make sure to participate in local elections. They actually do matter. Like who your local sheriff is could be a life or death decision that you make. So you might want to go and vote. Anyways, I'm going to go offline here. I thank you to the roughly 4,000 people who tuned in live. I will be live for an extra stream tomorrow evening. We will be covering the South Carolina results because watching Nikki Haley get completely humiliated is going to be orgasmic, much more orgasmic than Nikki Haley would be. So we're going to have some fun. I plan on going, I don't know, again, I think results start trickling in at 7. I'll go live before the results start coming in because I have a feeling within 10 minutes they're going to call the race. So they're not even going to be tabulating the results. They'll look at the exit polls and they'll say the writing is on the wall, basically. I predict that the gap will be 25 points. I think that's the sweet spot, the over and under. Could be a little more, a little bit less. It's going to be somewhere around that ballpark, between 20 and 30, I think. And Nikki Haley may or may not be intelligent enough to concede. We're going to see what happens. We may see her concede live, by the way, on the show tomorrow night. So definitely tune in. This is going to be your election super center, and I'm going to be getting all the maps and shit up and taking a look at that. Webster's Wares, Sticks and Clankers, have a great weekend. I have HVACing to install and a fence to put up to ward off my bracelet jingling Karen neighbor. That's about all. Peace out, dude. Goodness. But anyway, yeah, we'll be able to talk about Nikki Haley's vagina tomorrow night. It'll be funny. So we'll be live streaming. And that means, again, I can't show off my AR during it, unfortunately. I can have it on the other side of the desk. Can't have it on this side because YouTube's anal about that. I'll show that off tomorrow with a big shout out and some other stuff too. I'll probably do. I might do 2 shout outs tomorrow. I'm not sure. Depends on how much news there is. No mainline live stream though, because it's the weekend, but we will go live in the evening. That's about all. Peace out.